Hello everyone. So today I'm going to show you how I go about doing a really quick watercolor painting. And today I'm going to be doing some basic flower and leaf patterns. Now I'm going to do this in a few stages. Number one, I'm going to be using some marker pens to just do some very rough outlines. Now I'm not necessarily going to be coloring these outlines in, I'm just going to be doing watercolors kind of in random places afterwards. You'll see what I mean in a minute, but it's kind of a multi-stage approach. Now using mixed media like this actually gives a really unique and really interesting effect. So do try it. Grab a bunch of different things and layer them up. So these marker pens are not water soluble. If you use watercolor on water-soluble pens, they are going to melt, which might be an effect you want, but for this, I want them to show, so I am not going to use any water-soluble markers. So I've got those ready. I'm just going to put those to one side. The other thing that I'm going to be using is just a white oil pastel. Now this is just going to make sure that some areas are going to stay white, so when I cover it later with paint, there will be still some white areas remaining. I'm going to be using some of my watercolor inks. They look like this. This is a really good one. They last forever. They're fantastic. But if you can't get hold of these, you can also just use regular food coloring. Now, obviously, food coloring doesn't come in quite so many different shades in most places. So you can mix this. You can take a couple of drops of one color, a couple of drops of another, and mix them up. Now, I always add about equal parts water. I just use a little pipette and just add a few drops of water to each one, and it really goes a long way. Now the last stage I'm going to use, which I haven't actually got out yet, but I'm going to run and grab it in a minute, is I'm going to be using some bleach. Now if you're using this, you want to be really careful that it's not getting on your skin, especially if you're a little one, so make sure that you check with your mum and dad first that this is okay. As long as you put it in a small dish and only use a brush and are very careful with it, it should be fine. But bear in mind it will possibly irritate your skin and it might even dye your clothes, so keep that far away from your lovely clothes. Now I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes just so we can see how much of this we can do in 5 minutes. It's just interesting to see how much we can get done, right? But spend as long as you like if you're doing this at home. So I'm going to set the timer and then I'm just going to go ahead, grab some of my marker pens here, which I've purposefully chosen dark colors so they will really show up. And I'm just going to start doing some basic outlines. Okay, so Alexa, set the timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Now, the first thing I'm going to do is almost like a little sort of vine, like a stem going through my picture. So I'm just going to do a little tiny bit of texture going along this stem. Really, really basic design, and you could also add another one, why not? I'm just going to bring that through, making sure to remove my pen when it's going underneath the other one. Okay. Now using the same color, I'm going to do a basic leaf shape. Now when I'm doing these rough kind of playful watercolors, I just have my leaves, patterns, whatever I'm drawing coming in from all angles. You don't have to have them all just growing straight up from the ground. We're sort of having this like a little snapshot of maybe what you would be seeing in a jungle. So it really doesn't matter which direction it's all going in. Okay. Thank you, Sammy. I'm doing this during nap time, so my little one has just woken up. Hang on. So I'm getting a few of these very basic leaf shapes in. They're just all kind of coming out of this stem. I'm just working really loosely and really quickly with this pen. Now, you could be way more precise if you want to. Papa's just coming, Oz. And you could do it all in pencil first, of course, but I'm just going right ahead and doing it with my marker. Now I'm going to do this one a bit bigger. Okay. Now I'm going to change colours just for a little bit of variety. Papa's coming, Oz. And I'm going to start doing a kind of it's almost, I don't know, like a dandelion shape. It's lots of stems coming all out from the same central point. Now if you start with a heavy pressure in the middle and then you sort of gently lift up your pen as you're getting towards the end, you get a sort of a nice tapering of the line. So just be careful not to maintain a heavy pressure all the way along, because you'll end up with a big, flat, heavy line. Now at the end of each of these, I'm just going to do 3 little petals. Bibi, could you turn that monitor off for me, sweetheart, because your brother's yelling and... Okay, having to work quite quickly with this. Thanks, darling. Okay, so I'm just repeating this kind of pattern going all the way around. 1, 2, 3. 3 little sort of petals or buds. Okay, all the way around. Again, not worrying too much about the neatness. This is going to be a nice kind of flowy picture. It doesn't matter too much how precise we are. I'm going to also just add another stem coming down like this. Okay, now what else can we do? Right, we're not going to have too much time left, I think, but I'm going to add, and I'm even going to just overlap these, look. It really doesn't matter. I quite like that overlapping effect. I'm just going to add a simple kind of 3-petaled flower here. Okay, what else can I do? Right, just a little U shape with a bunch of lines coming up and a dot on the end of each one over there. Make a few shorter. Okay. Now, I don't think we need too much more in the way of drawing on here. We'll just do the rest of it with watercolours really, but I'm just going to add, maybe let's just do a 3-petaled flower over here. And as you can see, I'm just going ahead and overlapping. I might do a couple of tall little leaves coming up like that. And I've got this nice purple. What can I add in purple? Okay. Alexa, stop the timer. So this is how much I have managed to do in 5 minutes. Now, this is absolutely fine to leave it like this. If you're happy like this, it's a kind of an interesting sketch. And if you don't have much more time than that, you could just do a very quick sketch like this and just leave it there. You can also come back to it later. You don't always have to finish the artwork that you have started. Sometimes your brain has had enough and you just need a break, and then it's useful to come back later on and look at it with a fresh eye. I'm going to just grab my watercolour inks now and show you guys what I can add in just a few minutes time, okay? I'm just adding some white oil pastel in some of the empty spaces around this artwork and in some of the flowers, just to give a little bit of texture and interest, so that when I add the watercolours or food colouring, whatever you're using, this will resist and give an extra layer of detail. So I'm just adding the yellow to start with. I like to start mostly with the lighter colours first, so you don't end up with a dirty picture. Dark colours tend to bleed into everything else and kind of leave you with a bit of a dark mess. So as you can see, my blue pen on the leaves has actually started to melt a little bit into this yellow ink. They were supposed to be not water soluble, these pens, but they seem to be a little bit dissolvable. So just beware of that. Maybe test your marker pens with your food colouring or your watercolours on a separate piece of paper first, so you can see what the effect will be, whether they will melt or not once you add a wet medium to your artwork. So I'm just kind of going crazy with these inks, as you can see, just slapping them on all over the place. It's supposed to be a little bit abstract and free. It's not supposed to be too neat and perfect. It's more about the colours and the blending and just seeing some interesting shapes emerging over there. So there isn't really a right or a wrong way to do this. The only thing I would say is be a bit careful about adding colours which are complementary to each other too close, because they will mix and make brown. So if you put yellow right next to purple, green right next to red, or blue right next to orange, they will mix and make pretty much a brown colour for you. So here at this point I'm just adding a tiny bit of detail with bleach. Now if you're going to use bleach, be super duper careful, but I just love to add a tiny bit with my brush. I've got a small amount of bleach in a dish over here, and it's just lifting up some of these colours, changing the colours and revealing a bit of white where I add it. So you can just see that you're getting a nice little streak of white everywhere that I put this bleach. And I think that's a really cool effect to try out. So have a go, be careful with it, stay safe, don't let this get on your skin. And here is the finished artwork. It's a little bit crazy, but I really love all these bright colours.